So, New Zealand have been on top of it since you've got there, been pretty much number one in the world rankings the whole time. What do you think the difference is between them and say other teams at world rugby level?
I think, and they were at the top before I turned up. Just to be clear, the I suppose differences, and it's hard. It's always hard because you don't know. I don't know what other teams do. Not international teams. I don't really know, other than what you read in the papers around altitude and camps in the heat and all those sorts of things. And again, just to me, it comes back to we keep things very simple because we have to. We don't have a lot of money. We're always on the road. We don't have a base. And so we have to just do the real basics, and like I said, do them very, very well. So we squat just like most players would squat. We try to squat really, really well, but all the time. We do put a big emphasis on recovery, and I'm sure every team does. But we try to ensure we do it better than any other team. Whether that is or not, I'm not sure. But our team and our group, we work really hard, and we've got some incredibly fit leaders, and that helps because they set the standard.
Um, Obviously, at definitely lower level, there's not really a culture of fitness training hard. I guess at this level, that can't exist.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to motivation and I suppose ambition. And if you wanted to be the best rugby player you can be, or you want to be the best, healthiest person you can be, then it does come down to your attitude and your motivation. And for me myself, like I'm getting on a bit now. I'm 40 and I love eating and I love food and I suppose I'm no different than these professional rugby players I work with. I have a goal, which is to do my triathlon races, and I need something like that to keep me motivated, to get me getting out of bed when it's dark and raining in the middle of the UK winter.
All summer.
So I think it's the big difference is motivation, commitment, and if you've got those things and have a simple program that you do consistently well, you'll achieve good things. But again, you can be the most physically talented person, but you may not necessarily be the best athlete. So there is a difference, and that's the thing to figure out what's going to help you become a better player.
Nice. So over your years, who would you say, some of the strongest players you've had come through the All Blacks and so forth?
Yeah, it's good question. It's always some question that people ask is who are the strongest, and like over the years, the strongest athletes in maybe the squat would be the Franks brothers. They've been squatting since they were 6 months old with a bar, and they just love it. It's their go-to. Squats and deadlifts are very, very strong. And then you've got other players that people would be surprised about. Liam Messam, and Victor Vito, probably the best benchers in the team. Malachi Fekitoa. So this is the day before the final of the World Cup tomorrow. He missed. He did 170 kilo for one today on the bench. So, he's only 100 kilos and he's benching 170. So he's extremely strong. So we have a lot of different sort of strengths around the group. And then if you looked at explosive power, you had Sam Whitelock yesterday. So he's our big lock at 118 kilos, jumping to a box above his belly button. So he's doing must be a 4-foot jump. Feet to the top. So he's jumping very high. And so they all have different traits, and typically that's what selects the position they end up playing in. If you're big and strong and slow, you're typically in the tight forwards, and if you can run like the wind all day, you're typically out wide. So, quite a mixed bag. They've all got different strengths and weaknesses across the board.
What do I say the fastest people you've worked with and most agile over the years?
Oh, fastest and most agile. I've had a lot of amazing outside backs that I've worked with. Sitiveni Sivavatu, he was amazing. He could maintain amazing speed whilst changing direction. Waisaki Naholo at the moment, he's the same. He's quick but amazing on his feet. Malachi Fekitoa is not quick, but he can run angles and turn on a dime. So he beats defenders differently than other players, not with speed but with agility. Corey Jane was always very quick and agile on his feet. Jose Gear, probably one of the quickest, straight line. And again, what you find is that the straight line athletes aren't necessarily the best either. So, that's why straight line speed, hey, it's a good number, it's a good thing to measure, but, you want to be able to be quick on your feet, but be able to place defenders or stick defenders to beat them. So learning how to hold defenders and beat them is probably the next step.
I guess the final area, as far as like pure fitness, aerobic wise, who would be the players who stood out for you over the times?
Oh, easily Richie McCaw, fittest forward by a long shot. Conrad Smith can run all day. Bowden Barrett now is the best runner in the group. Bowden Barrett is incredible, probably the best by far now in my time with the team. Very quick, but can hold that speed for 4 or 5 minutes. Just quite incredible. Would be an amazing sort of middle distance runner. Again, it's changed a little bit, and what we measure has changed a little bit. But typically, as I said, the leaders in our group have always been very, very fit, because they typically have to be out there for 80 minutes, whereas some of our other players might last 40 or 50.
So when say you get a player who's got, say, a talented runner, would you then sort of just ignore that and focus on strength, or do you work on weaknesses, or more developing strengths, or a bit of both?
Both. Yeah, good question. Most people try and just focus on trying to improve their weaknesses, but if you're a good player and you're making line breaks and you're beating defenders and you're scoring tries or you're throwing great passes, then that's something you're good at. So you have to keep being good at it. So you keep practicing it. Likewise, on the other hand, if there's something that you keep not doing so well at, like missing tackles, or tackles aren't quite as dominant as you'd like them, then obviously you have to keep trying to fix that. So our group is pretty motivated and around trying to be the best they can be. So they're always working on things they love doing and good at, and things that, hey, they're not quite nailing. So it's very much a mixed bag. You've got to be trying to grow as a full all-round athlete, as opposed to just being good at one thing.
And if you had to pick any other players from over your time from World Rugby you'd like to have worked with, who would that have been? Who aren't All Blacks, obviously.
I went to a WASPs training, would have been about 2004, and Lawrence Dallaglio was there training. He was obviously in the England team at the time, and I just admired him from afar, just his authority and his discipline and his motivation and his standards. I probably, whilst I never met him, I admired him as a leader, and I've been lucky to have worked with Richie, and I sense that they were probably very similar, just at different eras. But Lawrence Dallaglio would have been amazing to work with. Who else springs to mind? Johnny Wilkinson, again, admired from afar. And even back in the day, I would have loved to have sort of had a chance to maybe meet and work with David Kempisi. As a kid, he was an amazing athlete too. So yeah, there's a few there, but I'm showing my age a bit too, aren't I?
Yeah, well, that's not right. So for people, the average rugby player, so to speak, not professional rugby player, what's the main thing they should be working on, perhaps, to just improve their game?
I think obviously the key is making sure that the foundations are in place to be explosive and strong. To be able to take part in a collision and not come off second best. And so, the relationship between strength and power is huge. So, I always, when I work with someone for the first time, it's very much a simple, let's get you powerful vertically, which is pretty safe and pretty easy, and you can do it anywhere. Let's improve your power vertically. And why vertically? Well, there's been lots of studies, research studies, that have shown that, the higher you can jump, typically the quicker you can run over, say, 10 metres. And there's been a few studies that have showed that's not the case, these correlational studies, but there's enough to suggest that, if I can jump higher, I'm going to have more chance of beating you over 10 metres. And, funnily enough, some research we've carried out in the, probably 10 years ago now, we showed that line breaks in a rugby game are highly correlated to your running speed. So if you can run fast, you typically make more line breaks. You make more line breaks, your team wins. So if you strip it all the way back to basics, well, let's get you jumping high. And what does that look like? Well, you need to get strong. You need to get powerful. You need to be able to move weight, whether that's your body weight or other external weight, quickly, and even more quickly as velocity increases. you know. And it's a really simple thing. Like I always talk to young players, especially who are really big, not very strong, and therefore not very powerful. And the biggest thing we do is get rid of some fat, reduce some load, reduce some weight, and all of a sudden they're jumping higher or they're running quicker because they're not carrying around 5 kilos of baggage. So there is a big relationship there. So basics first, strength and power, vertical plane.
Good.